I did it.
Did you?
I went to...
What did you do?
I went to see a hypnotherapist.
Stop. About a love affair?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
yeah.
did it work?
Yes.
Stop.
Yeah. I mean, it worked for about a week, but that's all. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
I just needed some time off.
Welcome, Sharon Horgan, to One Nightstand.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here.
You've chosen 4 amazing books for us to talk about today. Your first book is Love's Executioner by Irvin Yalom, which I don't know, just left me speechless in so many moments. Tell me about when you first read that book.
Well, that is relatively recent, actually.
Yeah.
It's only about a year ago. My boyfriend recommended it.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy short stories, and so he suggested that for me. And I knew nothing about its history and how influential it is for, people training in psychotherapy and that kind of thing. But the title of the book is the title of my favorite essay in it.
The first one.
Yeah, and I think so that story is about this middle-aged.
She's like 70, I think,
Oh,
when
okay.
she starts.
Well, I'm going to call that middle-aged. What the hell? It's called Love's Executioner because he doesn't. If someone has a problem, if someone is in love and wants to talk about it, he doesn't really encourage that because he doesn't want to, kill the idea of love or what love means to that person. And I just love that.
Yeah, it's
as an idea because I don't know if you've been in that situation where you've had a love affair that has ended badly.
Yeah.
And you just want it. You want that whole spotless mind.
100%. If you could press a button, I always just say, if I could press a button and never.
But I also did it. I did it.
Did you?
I went to.
What did you do?
I went to see a hypnotherapist.
Stop. About a love affair?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yes.
Stop.
Yeah. I mean, it worked for about a week, but that's all. But that's all I needed. I just needed some time off.
Yeah.
And like the Thelma in the book is like consumed with it.
Yeah.
And in fact, then when it sort of, when he's brought into her life and he explains what happened, it kind of destroys something.
Yeah.
Like ruins
her
life
destroys
even.
her, and then she comes out the other side a bit later, doesn't she?
Yeah. I was really drawn to that book
Yeah.
for those reasons, and I think also because of my writing, I really love to get under the skin of love, especially, and there's just so much in there.
Yeah.
You can just dip in and keep going back to it, and you can use it as a sort of, as a tool for yourself.
Yeah. It's truly people at their most vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think it was the second or third story where the man said there's quite a lot of like men who aren't getting laid who want to get laid in some of the other stories, and he sends them off to these group therapies. And
that story was one of my.
It's awful.
It's heartbreaking.
And I just feel like these women get like mobilized to help make him better, and like they were like collateral damage. It like bothered me, but
he's such a desperate character. I mean, I'd so much rather be one of the women in that in that situation than to live inside that head.
Prison.
And also I love how he doesn't. I mean, he's very judgy, but he doesn't judge. You know what I mean? I mean, he says terrible things out loud.
That's exactly what. Yeah.
But at the same time, he's very, very critical of himself and how he can sort of get it wrong and.
Yeah, he's very good at labelling his own feelings about things, so then they're gone and done.
Yes.
Which, as a British person, I struggle with.
Yeah.
Master in silent repression. But
because that's what fuels us.
Exactly.
What would we do if we didn't have any of that shit to deal with in our heads?
I also thought about it we did a big story on Bustle maybe a year and a half ago now about therapy speak and how people were feeling like annoyed by it, and in particular how sometimes like men were using it in dating scenarios in this like quite
what?
like
Give me an
sort
example.
of like, I can't text you back because I need to follow my boundaries or something like that kind of vibe where it's like, that's a bad example, but kind of using the language around therapy to like legitimize bad behavior sometimes. Is that something you've seen at all or not?
I mean, my teenage girls could tell you a whole lot
really
about that. back in my day, there was everything happened to your face, and now it's all sort of messages on social media, and it's very hard for young girls to kind of know where they stand, even know. And so I guess that kind of maybe not the therapy speak part of it, but the ability to sort of exit a situation via a message that's deeply, deeply unsatisfying. I mean, it seems to me like whole relationships are played out over with very little face time.
Totally. I think it sounds traumatizing and unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
Better to get binned off at the bus stop or something, like back in the day.
Or at least through his friend, like his friend come over,
tell
oh you what's happening.
Or to be a teenager, man. Well, I love that book so much, and each of the stories really, I mean, more than anything, he really seems to believe that everyone is in some way treatable. It would have been interesting to see him get his hands on JP and Bad Sisters. I don't know if he was redeemable.
I think that's really interesting, and it really, I mean, he's kind of similar to I can't remember the character's name, but the guy with cancer who's these women have to help fix, who has these terribly sort of what do you call it, constant sort of sexual thoughts. But I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's really hard with narcissists. And also, I mean, narcissism seems to me really close to, BPD, kind of borderline personality disorder, which is kind of, I don't know what ailment JP has, but he has something where he always thinks he's right.
Yes.
And is, very strong within that. So, and everyone else is wrong, therefore.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do about that. How is that fixable?
Yeah,
maybe
I don't know.
Maybe someone can ring in and
tell us.
Viewer
comments. Someone can
listening going, well, of course, bloody take this and do this.
Okay, well, your second book, I'm Glad My Mom Died, by Jeanette McCurdy, is incredible, and I literally was speechless when I was reading parts of it. Tell me about your experience reading it.
I knew so much about Jeanette anyway, just because, and I remember it when I met her, telling her this, I was like a weird fan, because my girls were obsessed with iCarly, and I remember watching her and thinking, I mean, it's tricky with child actors and Nickelodeon-y things, because it's a very sort of different way of performing.
Totally.
It's very performative performing, and
like
she was
pantomime almost.
Yeah, and she was like the opposite.
Oh, really?
She was just so dry and so naturally funny. Just had this great timing, and could be a clown, and it's so, that whole kids TV world is so bright and colourful and relentless, and I always used to look at it and wonder how people existed within that, but you would just never think for a minute that this incredibly dark tale, and of course so much darkness has since been revealed. I mean, obviously you're drawn to the title, and it's such I mean, that was such a bold move. It could have backfired so heavily. I just thought it was amazing. But then the other side is just how well she writes and how funny she is.
Totally. Yeah.
And she's so fearless.
Yeah.
And is like that as a person as well, and just to put it all out there on the page, to have gone through a sort of an experience that I can't even, it makes me emotional actually, thinking it and talking about it. I cannot imagine that the person you put all your love and trust in harming you in that way. And also how complex is love, and how complex is your relationship with your parents, when there's that kind of when the love is really there, but then also that sort of level of violence, really, and abuse.
I had read Vladimir by Julia May Jonas, which is one of your other picks, a couple of years ago, and it came out, and it's a real, like, not head scratcher in a confusing way, but in a just sort of like, ooh, like I found myself disorientated at points. Like,
really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
In what way?
I think just in the way of like the different perspectives, and I found it like provocative and in that sort of
it is
way, which is kind of you know, it feels like it's questioning a lot of like received wisdom around like how people are meant to be, and so I loved it. But tell me about your reading of it.
Well, this as well is a book that we are you know, bringing to the screen, great. Hopefully.
Exciting.
So I was making Bad Sisters and I had no headspace, and I was like, no, I just don't have time, and then they were like, just read the first chapter. And so I read the first chapter.
Yeah.
And then I just made time.
Yeah.
Because I gosh, it just resonated with me so much, and I think there's very few. It's still rare to see a protagonist like that. It's still rare to have a female central character who's you know, divisive in that way, who's in a situation that is certainly not of her own making, but what she knows and doesn't know is left kind of vague.
Yeah.
You know, she's a vain character. She's got an ego.
That's one of the things that I like most about reading, is that sort of like disappearing into those like different psyches in a way. It's incredible.
Did you read All Fours?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I was gonna put it on the list, but I feel like it's probably has been talked about.
No, we can always talk about All Fours. What are your thoughts?
Well, just, I mean, I was obsessed with it. You know, I couldn't put it down. And I've had experiences where I've been reading that book in a cafe where two other women are
really
the same
interesting
book. Yeah, it just sort of, there was a wave.
It's like a code of
it was like almost like a cool 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing, because it was so sexy.
Yeah.
But I think really honest about feelings that are embarrassing to say out loud.
Yes.
I mean, the game playing that you continue to do as a like you know, middle-aged menopausal woman, like a teenager. And because I remember having this conversation with my daughter and her going, please God, tell me this doesn't still happen. You know, like stuff that you associate with teenage behaviors, or you know, your own and you know, whoever it is you're, you know, having dalliance with. And I was like, I'm really sorry to say
it
that
continues.
It continues. And, also, and capturing what it is to be incredibly obsessed with. Oh God.
Oh, yeah, there's a little theme going on here.
I just realised that. Yeah, I am obsessed with that thing of feeling obsessed by someone.
Yeah, well, it's fun. That's
fun.
The other thing about with like the sort of therapy obsession stuff. I'm like, sometimes it's fun to be messy.
Yeah.
Like not everything needs to be fixed and tidied up into a bow or like and packaged away. Yeah. And so your final book, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. And what do you love about it?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, again, it's sexy.
Yeah,
isn't
it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of like repressed desire as well. Well, not or unexcisable desire.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost kind of laughable, the idea behind it. You know, a man who can't have sex and a woman who's like oversexed,
is just
falling in love. I love the Paris setting. I love Pamplona. I love the bullfighting. I hate and love all the toxic masculinity within it, but there's such a varied male characters within it. And there's such, you know, there's like a brotherhood there, but there's also, they're vicious to each other.
Yeah, squabbling all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I was a huge F. Scott Fitzgerald fan, but this kind of like trumped it for me because it goes even further, you know. Yeah. He really doesn't overly describe anything. He just kind of lets you do the work. And I think it's a big inspiration because, in fact, I tried to adapt this one.
Did you?
Yeah, I couldn't. I got the rights to do it myself, and Jonathan Glatzer got the rights to adapt it, and like shopped it all over the place. Couldn't sell it.
Really? I feel like I'd watch a Lady Brit Ashley spin-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, about like her. Well, about with her as the main character.
I mean, I'm obsessed with her.
Yeah.
You know, as a early flawed female protagonist,
I mean, it's just,
right?
it's perfect.
But the ending, it is a sort of write your own ending, and it has been really inspiring to me because I love giving an audience something to think about, you know, and to not just sort of always say exactly what's going to happen, to allow them to kind of write the ending, and it's so it was so ahead of its time in that way, you know, just like a conversation. You don't know which way it's going to go.
I read the 1926 New York Times review of it, and when I was researching.
Was it bad?
No, it was. They liked it in this review, but like because a lot of the stuff at that age though did get reviewed terribly at the start, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about reviews? Do you like read them?
I don't read reviews anymore because if you're not prepared for the bad ones, I find it weird to just read the good ones.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, I do care. I really care. I really wish I didn't.
Yeah.
And I really admire people who don't.
Well, you've had a great reception for Bad Sisters. It's been incredible. It's been I was like amazed how you managed to wrap all those threads up.
Yeah. There's lots of different ways to wrap things up, but you know, it doesn't always have to be in the final episode, you know, but everything sometimes, if it's working well, all comes to a head and they feed into each other. And that was the plan.
No, it's fabulous. And I thought, I mean, I really want the Blah spin-off.
You want the what?
A spin-off about Blah.
That's so weird that you would say that. It's the only, you know, because we were being asked about if there was a way to sort of take it further. And for me, like, the end is the end, you know? And I feel really strongly about that. But the only kind of thing that I thought was about Blonde, but yeah,
because she's I wondered if you were, because the camera kind of hovers on her at the end as they're like the ashes are like floating out, and I just thought, my God, this girl's been through it. Like,
this girl's been through it, but like I do feel like you there's less. I feel like there's less worry for her at the end because I wanted to end it with the family all together, and she is surrounded by love. Yeah, I can give you something interesting. Behind the scenes wise. Well, you know that at the end when they're going down to the shore and there's these little flashes of them as younger girls, and when we were making the first season there was a whole scene at the beginning of the first episode that sort of told you the story of the sisters, and Becca has this accident where she falls into the 40-foot, and they're sort of like, they kind of, at that moment, they're kind of like, you know, they're always going to kind of look after each other. But we just didn't need it. It's like the Hemingway, there was like 30 pages that he cut because he didn't need it. It was like, you can just begin the story when it begins. And but I always loved that footage. It was so beautiful. And those girls who played the younger Garveys, I loved them. And it was so gorgeous to get to use those moments, and it was weird because I'd written it into the script, but I'd kind of like thought, well, I'm not sure how we'll do that, and then we were like, we've got all that fucking footage, we've got those girls.
Oh, that's so good, and it's so beautiful, and it's really moving, and it's really I don't know, you feel sort of like hopeful for them at the end that things are going to be better. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Good, me too. And thank you for these great books.
You're welcome.